There are times when the messages that matter most in our lives reach us at unexpected moments, and this is one of those times. Right now, you're standing at a crossroads, and God has been trying to get your attention. Over the past 48 hours, God has been working to ensure you hear this. This is no random moment. It's a personal message from the Creator of the universe, crafted specifically for you and what you're facing right now. Reflect on how, over the last 2 days, there's been an unexplainable feeling tugging at your heart. Maybe a subtle urgency, or a sense that something significant is waiting to be understood, yet somehow it keeps slipping away in the daily noise. Busyness, worries, and distractions have all stood in the way, but right now, God is reaching out directly to you. He's asking you not to turn away from this message, as it contains the guidance you need to make a decision that will shape your path ahead. The fact that this message has finally reached you after 48 hours is no accident. God has been patient, waiting to break through the noise and make His voice heard. Think back on the past few days. Have there been moments where you felt a bit lost, overwhelmed, or confused? Each of those feelings was not without purpose. They were gentle nudges, reminders of the importance of the message trying to reach you. And now, you have an opportunity to receive it fully. Why this message took time to reach you? You might be wondering why it took so long to get here. The answer lies in the unseen world, the spiritual battle that surrounds us. When God reaches out with an important message, there are often forces that work to distract and pull us away from hearing Him. The enemy wants to cloud your mind and prevent you from fully understanding the guidance God is trying to offer. For 48 hours, there has been a struggle for your attention, your focus, and your heart. But in His patience and love, God has continued to pursue you. Now, in this moment, there's a clear path to silence the distractions and hear God's voice more clearly than ever. Reflect on these last 2 days. Each struggle, each pull in different directions wasn't accidental. Now, as you listen, God invites you to allow His message to bring clarity, peace, and direction. The decision ahead, a warning from God. Now that you've received this message, God is urging you to consider the decision you're about to make. Whether or not you're fully aware of it, you're standing at a critical turning point. The choices you make now will have lasting consequences. This isn't just advice. God is intervening, knowing that the path you're contemplating might lead to a place of heartache and disappointment. Proverbs 16:9 reminds us, "In their hearts, humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps." God wants to guide you on the path He has set, the one that aligns with His best intentions for you. What's weighing on you? Is it a choice in relationships, a career decision, or a financial move? God urges you to pause and seek His direction, as rushing forward might cloud the outcome He wants for you. When urgency feels overwhelming, remember that sometimes the decisions that seem most pressing require the most patience. Trust that God's timing is perfect. The enemy might be pushing you to act impulsively, to make a choice based on fleeting emotions. But God's call to you is to wait, to listen, and to seek His wisdom. Ignoring this message, the potential consequences. If you turn away from this message and make this decision without consulting God, you might encounter consequences that God is trying to protect you from. This isn't meant to bring fear, but rather to emphasize the seriousness of what's at stake. When we choose to ignore God's voice, we often miss out on the full blessings He has in store. The Bible tells us in Proverbs 14:12, "There is a way that appears to be right, but in the end, it leads to death." While this doesn't mean physical death, it could mean the end of dreams, relationships, or opportunities. God sees what lies ahead. And while something might seem harmless or beneficial now, He knows the full impact. Trust that His warning is a loving one, and that ignoring His guidance could lead to disappointment or struggles He's trying to spare you from. God's promise of grace and redemption. Here's the incredible truth. Even if you've made choices in the past that weren't aligned with God's path, His grace is endless. God is a God of redemption, not condemnation. If you turn to Him, He promises to work through every wrong turn, every regret, and every past mistake. Romans 8:28 assures us that in all things, God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. This message reaches you now, not just as a warning, but as an invitation to experience His grace in its fullness. He's inviting you to surrender the plans you've held on to, the anxieties weighing on your heart, and to trust in His higher path for you. Embracing this message means opening your heart to the future God has designed, one filled with hope, purpose, and peace. What's next? Trusting God's plan. If you choose to listen, if you're willing to pause and take God's message to heart, He promises to guide you into a future overflowing with His blessings and peace. Jeremiah 29:11 reminds us, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." You might not see the full picture yet, but God is asking for your trust. He's a God who never fails. In moments of uncertainty, let this message be a beacon that reminds you of His constant guidance. He is reaching out to you now, at this moment, calling you to lean on His wisdom, to pause, and to believe that the path He has laid before you is good.